You're on stage, your heart beating like a metronome, the light bright in your eyes, so quiet in the room, you can hear a hooker out in the alley lighting a cigarette. You're bombing. You get it. You know what I'm talking about. It's horrible. I don't want to describe it further. We all know what bombing's like. I'm going to tell you how to deal with it. Every comic at some point in their career has bombed. You're not special. I used to bomb so much and so hard that I would quit comedy for 3 to 6 months. Here's how you deal with it. Number one, don't fear it. It's natural. It's going to happen. And it may help you realize that you shouldn't live or die based on the audience's approval. You're up there for you, first and foremost. The audience is almost secondary. That's why comics tell you, just go up there and have fun. It's supposed to be fun. Number two, immediately, and I mean as soon as humanly possible, perform again. Try to get on another show that night, or go to another open mic if you can, or go the following night. Whenever you can, perform again. It'll go better the second time you do it. This way you won't wallow in the experience of bombing. You won't spend too much time dwelling on it. Number three, change whatever you're doing on stage. If you're going slow, pick up the pace. If you're going too fast, slow it way down. Softer to louder, louder to softer. If you're just standing there in front of the mic, start getting physical, and vice versa. You have to change the dynamic to reset the room. Sometimes if I feel fear setting in, my body becomes rigid. So what I'll do is I'll get back and I'll literally shake my body. I'll shake it out, and then I'll start performing again. I'll just... Number four, go to quick, short material. One-liners. Start spitting them out rapid fire. Don't give the audience a chance to catch up with the laughter. Get that first little laugh, and then just keep going. Do this with 2 or 3 jokes, or even more if you have to. Let them know you're in control. Use stuff you know is going to work, and then go back into your act. You're reestablishing that you're funny, and you're challenging them to keep up. Number 5, never, and I mean never, blame the audience. Take the responsibility yourself. Yes, it might be their fault. You can't think that way, though. Yes, they might be talking. They might be on their phones. They might be heckling. They might be unruly. It doesn't matter. If you make yourself the victim of the crowd, then you'll always be the victim. There's nothing you could do to change it if you're the victim. Ultimately, you're in control. You're on a stage. There's a light shining on you. They're there to be entertained. You have a microphone and speakers. Use all of your skills to assert dominance in a sense, while still being likable and funny. Figure it out. Don't make excuses. Number 6, acknowledge that you're bombing. Do this sparingly. You don't want to do it too much or too early. Sometimes it takes the crowd just a little while to get what you're talking about or settle in. Or maybe you haven't gotten to the tag part of the joke. They didn't laugh at the punchline, so you're just going to bail on the joke. No. Acknowledge your bombing, but make a joke out of it. Never apologize for a joke. Never say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm new, or I'm sorry, that's some new material. Don't announce that it's new material. You're in control. Don't break that illusion. Don't let them know that it's new material. You're there. You have something to say. It's not even material. It's not jokes. You're telling them something. It's okay to acknowledge it, but you can do it in a funny way. That might actually get you back on their side because you're letting them know, hey, I'm here in the present moment. I'm not just doing a rehearsed act. So you could say something along the lines of, sometimes you swing and miss, huh, guys? Or pretend you're in a relationship with the audience and say, look, I know right now here in this moment we're going through a rough patch, and I realize I'm probably at fault, but I'm willing to work on this with you. Maybe we can see a counselor, audience, and figure this out together, but I'm going to stick with you. I'm here. I'm by your side. I'll never leave you. I'll follow you home and talk to you. Do you see that little thing? It lets the audience know that, yeah, you get it. Things aren't going great, but you're still in control of the situation. Number 7, don't use hack lines to get out of it. Don't say too soon after a joke that doesn't work. If that has nothing to do with it, try not to say too soon, period. It's been overused. But don't attack the crowd because they didn't get something. It's your job to explain it in a way that they get it and they laugh at it. So don't use a hack line like, oh, well, I guess there's a lot of Cleveland Browns fans here tonight or whatever. Like it's their fault. 7 is a combination of one of the other numbers of not blaming the audience. But there's so many canned lines. Bill Maher does this a lot on his show. He will act as if the crowd is dumb because they don't get it. And Bill Maher's very talented, obviously. I like a lot of the stuff he does, but that's the one thing that I would critique with him is constantly going, oh, you guys are so that, like making assumptions about the audience. Numero 8, make a local reference. That automatically brings the crowd in because it's like you created something just for them. This isn't something you're going to do in another town. They love local stuff. And you can make a joke like, I'm so glad Channel 6 News isn't here covering my set because I would die inside watching Liz Bishop roll the footage of this performance. Number 9, do your time. If you're supposed to do 20 to 30 minutes, do that time. Whatever your time is that you have to perform, don't bail just because you're bombing. It's not fair to the other comics. Then the headliner has to make up the 15 minutes you didn't do. Be a professional. Don't go over, but don't go under. 10, don't get mad at the host or the next comic going up, especially if it's the headliner, if they make a joke or 2 or 3 about you bombing. They need to reset the room now because you messed it up. Again, it's your fault, remember? So, of course, you don't have to be cool with a comic doing their entire act about how bad you did, but give them some leeway. They have to dig everybody else out of the hole that you just dug. 11, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but try to bomb harder. Now, this is not for the faint of heart. This is not for somebody without a lot of experience, but I've done it in my act, and there's famous comics that are notorious for it. Punish the audience. It becomes fun. Patrice O'Neill was notorious for it. If he started bombing, he would dig that hole as deep as he possibly could, and it would be so funny. Bill Burr, his legendary set in Philadelphia, and you could, I'm going to link it here in the comments. You hear him talking about how much time he still has left to do and how much he's done. That goes back to one of the earlier points, do your time. But he just lays into the audience. And my dear, dear friend, Brody Stevens, that was part of his act. He would get into a fake fight with the audience right from the beginning. He wasn't even bombing. But he loved having this adversarial quality where it's him against them. And then he would make up with them. And it was just great to watch. So again, don't try this if you're just starting out. You could try to bomb harder. Don't attack the audience. But sometimes punishing the audience is really fun. I do it pretend-wise. I go, oh, you didn't like that? Well, now I'm going to punish you. You're really going to hate this. And then I say something hilarious that they obviously wouldn't hate. And it kind of relieves the pressure. Ultimately, don't be afraid of bombing. It's natural. It's paying your dues. It'll toughen you up. It'll make you stronger. It'll make you a better comedian. And once you go through it a few times, it'll start happening a lot less.